And joining us now, senior advisor to former President Trump and the Trump campaign, Jason Miller. Jason, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you've been a longtime strategist for Trump, working with him on his 2016 and 2020 campaigns. Your current campaign is doing well now in the primaries, but to win in November, of course, you're going to need independent voters. How do you anticipate wooing more women, more independents, many of whom now favor Nikki Haley?
Well, let's go and unpack this for a moment. When you look at all the recent polling, whether it be the New York Times Siena poll that came out over the weekend, whether you look at Bloomberg, and by the way, I'm guessing we just won another state because it got loud here real quick. So never get tired of winning. So we'll go pick up. But when you look at all the general election polls that have been coming out, President Trump is leading Joe Biden by big numbers with independents. In most surveys, is between 4 or 5 points, maybe as high as 13 or 14 points. So that's not just for nationally, that's also in all the battleground states, the top 6 or 7. When it comes to the primaries, independents who are actually behavioral Democrats, that's who's participating in the primaries and voting on behalf of Nikki Haley. So you can't go and extrapolate some kind of conclusion from primary turnout with regard to general election turnout. The only exception there, Linsey, I'd say, is maybe with the uncommitted voters in Michigan, the protest vote against Joe Biden. That's a little bit different, where you have Arab Americans saying that they weren't going to vote for Joe Biden in a critical battleground state, over 100,000. But with independents in the general election, and actually not even just independents, youth voters, Latinos, winning with all of these key voting groups, putting up record numbers for Republican with African Americans. So we love our positioning right now.
And Jason, of course, it's a very celebratory mood there, so it's really loud. If I can just ask you to put the microphone a little closer to your mouth just to make sure we can hear what you have to say. Of course, Nikki Haley said this week she's no longer bound by her pledge to support the Republican Party's eventual nominee if it's not her. If former President Trump does become the nominee, as many suspect that he will you need Haley's support to win in November?
Look, I get it for Nikki Haley. That's got to be hard. She's been out there working for quite a while, and to start losing like this, it must really do a number on someone. So I have a little bit of grace and compassion when it comes to that. But here's the deal, Linsey. This is about focusing on Joe Biden now. Unite behind President Trump. Let's go and win back the White House. And Nikki Haley needs to put aside the sour grapes, needs to get behind the winner. The Republican Party is united behind President Trump, but it appears only Nikki Haley hasn't figured that out yet.
Do you have any evidence to suggest that the Democrats or independents are actually voting for Nikki Haley?
Oh, absolutely. You go through and you look at every single state where Nikki Haley has received votes in the context where there's, say, an open primary, or voters can go and pick where they're going to go, Republicans or Democrats. We saw a big number. We saw thousands of voters in New Hampshire, to start at the top here, go and move their registration from Democrat to independent, so then they could cross over and vote for Nikki Haley in the primary. In fact, more than half of Nikki Haley's votes in New Hampshire in the primary were from non-Republicans. We've seen that pattern over and over. And Linsey, take a look at your own exit polls from today. The people who are coming out are behavioral Democrats. They're people who are not going to support President Trump in the general election. But what we do see from the actual general election polls, New York Times, Bloomberg, and the other Morning Consult, Harris X, is that President Trump is getting roughly 88, 90% of the Republican vote in the general election. So Republicans are coming home. The only folks who aren't coming home are behavioral Democrats who are trying to invade the Republican primary. And so at this point, there's a reason why I think Nikki Haley isn't just finished for 2024. She's probably finished for 2028, 2032, 2036, and so on, because she's now a behavioral Democrat herself.
All right, Jason Miller, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.